Hello, I'm Emmeline.
And I'm Kindy.
And welcome to Stuff with Moms, a podcast about shows, stories, and enjoying life. So, Kindy, how was your week?
It was good. We went to Spanish Fork Days, which Anders has been asking about for several months now. Every month he's like, when are the rides open? He calls them rides because they have rides there. So we finally went and he was so excited and he was just so loud. When he's excited, he gets so loud. So he was loud and excited. It was super fun. It was so hot though. On the rides, the seats were super hot. So I had to bust out Emmeline's changing pad to allow him to even ride one of the rides.
Oh, geez.
So he could sit down on that. Yeah, and poor Emmeline, I don't think she has temperature regulation. Some kids with Down syndrome, I think that's the thing because she gets super hot and she can't handle the heat. And so we had to go find shade and we just kind of played in the grass and stuff and she was fine after that. And she didn't really get a good nap. So it was like a combination of, I don't think she actually took a nap and it was super hot. So me and her just went and hung out somewhere else. But it was fun to just kind of be outside. And even though it was so hot, I swear, the older I get, I feel like the less I can handle, or it's just, I know I don't have to be out there. So anytime I come back from being inside the house, I don't want to do anything and I just want to be lazy because I didn't even make dinner when we got home. We were just eating donuts and then Anders at 7:00, he goes, Mom, when are we having dinner? I was like, oh yeah, I guess you are hungry. And Matt goes, yeah, can I have some too? So, I made them dinner at 7:00 at night after I put Emmeline to bed, where usually it's earlier than that. Super fun, and the sun's exhausting.
It is. I remember, as a kid, we would go outside and play for forever, and it could be in Oklahoma where it was 1,000,000 degrees, and Jonica had this really cool sprinkler clown head thing that we'd play with. We'd play in that, but I don't ever remember being super hot. And then when we moved to Alaska, I don't ever remember being super cold ever until every once in a while when my feet would get wet, I'd be like, my feet are so cold. But do we just glaze over those things in our minds? Or
I think as a kid, the important thing is playing. Nothing else matters. Just playing until your needs are so overwhelming that you can't ignore it anymore because you just want to play. And that's all you care about is to play.
And so you shut out all the other things. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, so yeah, Anders is at that point where he just wants to be at the thing even when it's 1,000,000 degrees.
He does. And he wanted to go outside today and play at a park. And it was 103 today. Oof. And I was like, there's no way we're going to go out and play in a park. But he's like, it's not hot. It will at 5. It's not right now. The poor kid. Oh. I probably should have just sucked it up. But there were so many things I needed to do. But we did go for a walk later. So.
Oh, nice.
He got his park in. Good. And then fought with his father to eat his dinner. He hates it when Matt says, eat tons and tons. So what did you get to do this week?
Well, we house hunted all week. Kyle and I went to so many different houses. And we ended up putting an offer on a house. So that's exciting.
Okay. Was it the first day of house hunting that you did that?
Yes, it was one from the first day. So it wasn't on the first day that we did it, but after we went and saw more and more houses, we kept comparing it to these 2 houses we saw the first day. And so we went back to one of the houses and we were in it and I was just like, this is it. This is the house. This is the one.
Oh, man. Okay. So what is it about the house that you were convinced that it's the one?
It has the space we want outside. It's on over a half acre of land, which is nice.
Nice.
It's in a good neighborhood with good schools. So that was important for us for the boys. And it's closer to family. Kyle's got a sister here, Joy, and her husband, Doug. I don't know if I've mentioned that or not before, but they live a little bit to the east of us, so it's more to the east. And so that's nice. We're a little bit closer to them by probably about 40 minutes.
That'll be fun.
That also played into it. And it's a good sized house so that if people do come visit, there's space, which was very important to me because I was like, I want everybody to come see us.
Yeah. Good.
It's a brand new house, which was also really nice. As we were looking at all these other houses, we kept thinking, that house, it's similarly priced to all these already been lived in houses. And you don't have to deal with all the problems of getting into an old house. I got to fix this and I got to fix that, which was kind of the last house we were in. It was a great house, but there was lots of fixing that had to happen.
I remember you having to fix the bathroom. All the grout. Sounds awful.
Just time consuming. There's just time consuming things that when you get a new house, you just don't have. And because it's done by this building company, they have these warranties on a bunch of this stuff. Like within the first year, if all this stuff happens, they'll fix it. And within 5 years, if any of this stuff happens, they'll take care of it. And within 10 years, if any of this other stuff happens, they take care of it. So we're good to go in a lot of things with this house.
Sweet.
Hopefully it all works out and we can close and that will just be great. But we want to get the boys in school when it starts, so we need to get a location.
Oh, man. I hope it works out.
All right, so you have our obscure holiday.
I do. It is on August 15th, and it is Relaxation Day. Take a day off from your daily routine. Put your feet up and relax. Because it is Relaxation Day.
Ooh, that sounds good.
Right? The origins of this holiday are unknown, though it is thought that the holiday began as National Slacker Day in Britain.
Yay, British friends.
Yay. In the hustle bustle of their daily lives, most people often forget to slow down and take some time for themselves. So this can create stress and other stress-related health issues like high blood pressure and heart problems. So on this day, do things that help you to relax and de-stress. So August 15th, maybe take that day off if you work and just relax. Do some relaxing things like use this day to do a digital detox. Unplug the computer, put away the phone, maybe stay away from social media with no work emails to fret over and no social dramas to be bothered with. You will feel stress melt away. Or you can go to the spa for a day of pampering and some me time. Or you can take a leisurely walk in the park, stop and smell the roses, or walk barefoot on the grass. Oh, that sounds heavenly, actually. Have a small picnic by yourself or read a book while people watching. Oh, that's fun to do. I love doing that, actually. Or learn a new skill like knitting or playing golf. That actually stresses me out. Learning to knit, like that's not... I would not be putting that on my relaxation to-do list. But if that's something that might relax you, then go for it. Did you know that in physics and chemistry, relaxation is a concept that refers to the movement of a system or a process from a state of disorder and disruption to equilibrium?
I didn't know that.
I didn't either. Kind of cool.
That is cool.
So it's very important to relax.
It helps you.
All right, and then Emmeline's got our word of the week.
Yep.
Oh, you've got an acronym.
I picked an acronym. I got to try one and see if Kindy fails as horribly as I do. So here's my question for you first, before I introduce the word, is do you remember ever playing with POGS?
I do. I remember my brother giving me a stack of POGs for Christmas in a ginormous box with a 2x4 in it. So I would think that it was a heavy, big present. And in reality, it was actually just POGs.
That's awesome.
Pretty clever.
For those of you that don't know what POGs are, they were little cardboard discs that you could collect, and they had all sorts of designs on them and cartoons or sayings. And the game was played by stacking the POGs, and you had your slammer. After throwing the slammer down on the pile, whatever POGs flipped, you got to add to your collection. So it was kind of like a version of Jack's. It's kind of got some similarities to that. But yeah, you had a slammer and you had your collection of POGs. And I thought that they were fun. I had a pretty good collection. I was very proud of my slammer. I kept them for a lot of years. During one of our moves, I got rid of them. I kind of wish I would have kept them to show Lorenzo and Clark and be like, this is what was fun in my day. When I was in 5th grade. So the acronym I picked, surprisingly, is the word POGS. It's an acronym. So what do you think POGS stands for?
Particularly over gorgeous sales. No. Printed on guys' signs. Slammer. Maybe the S is slammer. Potentially optimal ground slammer. Slamming. Okay, I think I'm done guessing. Although it's kind of fun.
So the name came from, it was named after these lids from a drink in Maui. And the lids were all the kind of drinks that they were. It was passion fruit, orange, guava, soda. The POGs were the actual lids of the drinks.
That is crazy. That's hilarious. Yeah, I would have never, ever guessed that.
Yeah.
Ever.
All right, so you have our good news, Kindy.
I do. So, sushi chef learns how to sign menu for deaf couple. The type of service a customer receives can either make or break the experience of dining out. On November 22nd, D Magazine's online dining editor, Natalie, posted a Twitter thread about the service her sister Melissa and her husband Victor received at Tatsu in Dallas that nearly brought her to tears. In the thread, which she has been liked and retweeted thousands of times, Natalie describes how staff at the hot spot went above and beyond to give her sister and brother-in-law the best experience possible. After telling friends and family about her experience, her sister and fellow foodie Melissa was able to score a hard-won reservation. My husband and I are deaf, Melissa tells Today Food via email. When going out to restaurants, we are usually prepared to accommodate the communication with the staff, such as using our voices with American Sign Language. We would use our voices while showing texts on our phones of what we need or want to order, or we would ask for pen and paper if communication gets too difficult. Tatsu Dallas is an omakase establishment. I probably just botched that, which means patrons receive meals consisting of dishes selected specifically by the chef. So it's very hoity-toity.
Okay.
It's like one of those restaurants where it's you go to eat because of the chef.
Okay.
So Melissa had emailed Tatsu Dallas to inform the staff that she and her husband are deaf, wanting to find out how they could get the full experience without being able to hear the chef's explanation of each dish. Melissa and her husband received the tasting menu ahead of time, which allowed them to get an idea of how their meal would go. Then the restaurant also told them that a much more detailed menu would be provided on the night of their visit so they could read everything the chef wanted them to know. And then when they finally arrived at the restaurant on the night of their reservation, they received a pleasant surprise, a greeting by staff in American Sign Language. And then Melissa says in an email that her and her husband were very surprised, considering they're always prepared to have a conversation with the restaurant staff about communication before dining in any public space. With the staff signing at Tatsu, we didn't feel left out, even though it created some attention in the room, she says. The chef also learned how to sign the entire tasting menu. That's impressive. Sign language is not easy. Melissa said the staff went out of their way to be accommodating, including slipping them small notes explaining what was going to happen next, and best dining practices for the full omakase experience.
Wow. That is so cool.
Isn't that neat?
Yeah.
How just a simple, I don't know, just that kind of gesture to help them feel included.
So I have a sister-in-law that is an ASL interpreter, and
I think that's so awesome.
yeah, it's so cool. While you're sitting and talking to her, she's got her hand down on her knee, and she's just signing everything that you're saying. Like,
No
she just
way.
keeps
I
up
was
with
wondering.
it all the time. Yeah, and she's fast.
That is
I'm sure
cool.
that they got help from somebody like Alicia to do something like that.
Just so all of you listeners know, Alicia's husband, Ben, does a podcast called Bad at Magic, and he actually talks about it on there. And it's so awesome because she's always wanted to do this. And so she went to school to be an ASL interpreter. And apparently this is like her dream. And even after her life with Ben and with kids, she made it happen. And it's super impressive. So
It is.
go, Alicia.
Yeah, go Alicia. The women that like go the extra mile and go back to school after their kids are grown or more grown.
Yeah.
Older, yep. Not growner.
They're growner.
They're growner. That they go back to school, and I've thought about it a couple times, but I'm just like, I don't want to do that. But like,
right?
My brain just doesn't catch on to stuff the way it used to. Oh, it would be hard.
I've thought about it. Yeah, I've thought about, because I'm a bookkeeper at a tax accounting firm. And
have you thought about getting like
that,
your CPA license or something?
No. If I were to do it, I would not go that route. I would just get like a bachelor's in accounting.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I have no desire to get a CPA. I've heard how awful it is, and no, absolutely no interest in getting a CPA ever. I know that for a fact.
Okay.
Maybe school, but yeah, I'm kind of with you where it's like, yeah, I don't want to go back to school. Plus, I got to take like electives that have nothing to do with the degree that I'd want to get.
That's my favorite part. Is
but
I would take wood shop class and build something really
those
cool.
Those are good.
Well, I have
those are good,
all the tools available to me that I could ever want. That would be awesome.
Yeah. Well, when it's those kinds of electives, yeah, those are good. But when it's, because I remember I just have my associates, and so you'd have to take like philosophy classes.
And you're like, why do I even need to do that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great for expanding my horizons, whatever. But I took two at the same time. I can't even remember why. I think they were both needed. Towards the end, I was so done with philosophy that one of my classes, I straight up told the teacher, I was like, I am philosophized out that I can't even like wrap my head around doing this final paper. And he was like, okay, that's fine.
Oh, really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think I still got a B in that class. I was quite surprised.
Good job.
But I was like so done. My mind could not go the distance and create a 5-page single space essay of Nietzsche's philosophy on, I can't even remember what his philosophies are, but I remember his name.
Good job.
Yay. Anyway. All right. So sorry on that huge long tangent.
No, tangents are fun.
Emmeline has a question for us
I
about
do.
When we were kids. What did you imagine your dream house would be? What did you have in it? So, Emmeline, tell us about your childhood dream house.
I think it was an assignment in one of my elementary school classes. They're like, draw what you think your dream house would be. I remember I was going to have an indoor pool, but I was going to have a room on the first story that you could access from the second story. It was a trampoline room. So you could open the door and just walk out into space, but down a story was a trampoline. So after you ate dinner in the kitchen, you could go jump in the trampoline room and get up to your room that was upstairs. And then it had a stables in the backyard for all my horses and dogs. No, I had a dog room that was just going to have all my dogs. I had all sorts of, like mine was like this massive, it took up the whole page,
Oh, because you had to draw it?
Yeah, you had to draw it out and label each of the rooms and stuff. And I thought every kid did this activity. We're going house hunting and we're trying to find the good house that we're just going to stay in because we don't want to move anymore. But we thought that the last time we moved, we were like, this is it. We're done moving. And then we end up moving. So we were kind of trying to find a good house for us. And it made me think of this. Why is this my dream house now? It doesn't have a stable in the backyard. It doesn't have a dog room or a trampoline room. But it has a good piece of property for my dogs. It's near a stable. Does that count?
That'll be nice.
Maybe we'll get a trampoline in the backyard. I don't know. But I asked Kindy, I was like, so what did you draw in your dream house? She's like, I never did one of those.
Yeah. If I did have a dream house, although this would be my adult dream house, just because I'm weird, I would have escalators. I would have a very slender, tall house just to have escalators going to each floor. They're so fun.
You love escalators?
I do. I love escalators. They're super fun. So as a kid, I would get a mirror and I would put it under my chin. Not to where I could see my chin, but just like underneath my eyes. And I'd look down so that it would show the ceiling and I'd pretend like I was walking on the ceiling. I'd even lift my legs up where the door jambs were or the lights. Like I'd walk around the lights or I'd step over them. I did this quite a few times, I think. It was super fun.
That's fun. You didn't accidentally like walk down the stairs because you were looking at the ceiling.
Yeah, thankfully, no. It was a one-story house at the time. And when there were stairs, it was up. So if anything, I would have walked into them instead of fell down them.
I did that same thing. I would also go around, like, put on my parents' glasses, and because it kind of it kind of warped what you saw. Whoa, everything's weird looking.
If I had glasses, that would be the case because my eyesight was so bad. So bad. In the military, you couldn't get the extra feature or pay extra to get it compressed. So it was like popping out of the frame. My eyesight was so bad.
You said was. Explain to the listeners what.
Oh, because I had gotten LASIK.
And you wake up and you can just see in the morning.
Yes, it's so nice.
Yeah, me, I wake up and I'm like, where's my glasses?
I can't see
I can't
nothing.
see anything. I turn on my old lady voice, apparently.
Yeah. Loud as a band.
Okay, before we get to our main segment, I thought it would be fun to talk about our pets, because we still haven't done that. So, Kindy, do you want to tell us about your pets?
Sure. So, Chassie was our first. She is an American curl, and
an American curl what?
Cat. Oh, yeah, cat. I did not say that. We were married. I think it was my first birthday as a married couple, I think. Matt was teasing me saying that he got a kitten or a cat, I can't remember, for my birthday. I got all excited and he's like, oh, I'm just kidding. But now I kind of want to get one because you were so excited. So we were driving by the vet and they had a sign that said they had kittens. And so we stopped by and told them we were interested. And they brought out Chassie and she was so cute. Just this tiny little thing, and her ears were popped back and super feisty, which Matt is drawn to feisty cats.
Women.
Feisty people. Yeah.
You.
I guess. I was like, I don't know how we made it because I'm not very feisty, but I guess I can be 1 week out of the month. kind of feisty. So we got her, and then we wanted another one so she wouldn't be lonely. We got Sancho, who is just the cutest. We got him from an animal shelter. And Sancho is, he's pretty standard, your standard breed of cat. And then we have Harley, who is yeah,
she's the most gorgeous cat I've ever seen in my life. She is beautiful.
She's very beautiful. Super soft fur.
Yes.
When we keep her inside. They're inside cats, but mostly outside cats now. And Harley is a type of Siamese. I cannot remember what kind. She has light colored skin. The older she gets, the darker, or light colored hair. And then the older she gets, the darker it gets around her. But that's kind of normal. With Siamese cats, they're white. And then as they get older, their nose and their ear tips and their tail and like their main body get darker because it helps them to get warm.
Oh.
Their hair gets darker. So those are my pets.
Harley, just so you guys know, she has the bluest of blue eyes. And her fur, if you've ever pet a chinchilla before, that's what she feels like. She feels like a chinchilla.
And she's becoming more of a lap cat. So it's really nice. Yeah. Matt and I think that she's getting out of her kitten phase because apparently the breed of cat that she is, they stay mentally a kitten for longer.
Oh,
like it's 2 years longer than
normal cats.
Than normal. She's hitting her teenage years now, I guess. I don't know. So how did you get yours and what kind of animals do you have?
I have 2 dogs. One is big and the other's little. So we got Cassie first. She's our little dog. She is a pug mixed with a beagle. They have a name called Puggle. And we got her in our first year of marriage. She's 16 years old. She is very old now. She can only hear very loud noises, and she's blind. She's lost vision in both of her eyes.
Has she figured out the lay of the land yet?
Not yet. She still kind of bumps her way around, but...
Poor thing. I bet once she gets used to it, you guys will move.
I know.
She'll be like, I don't know what's happening.
We're moving again.
Yeah.
But our new house, it will take her a while to find a wall to bump into, so that's good.
That's true. Yeah.
But she's great. She has a hound in her, so she follows her nose a lot. But she's got her little snuggly pug in her, so she likes to snuggle as long as you don't pet her. Unless you're somebody visiting, because then she wants all the pets from the new people. But like if she comes next to me and lays down, she doesn't want me to actually pet her, but she does love to snuggle. And she loves to bury herself in blankets. Like she just loves it. And but she's got her nasal that makes her snore and be loud when she's sleeping or when she's awake. She's just a noisy nosed dog.
Yep.
But she's so funny, and she's our little vacuum. She's good at cleaning up any food that falls on the floor, and we just love her to death. And then about 5 years ago, Cassie was acting very old and limping around a lot and kind of lethargic. And I was like, okay, she's going to die soon. So let's get our next dog so that she can train them before she dies, right? Because when you have another dog, it really helps the potty training process go quickly. So that's when we went dog hunting again, and we found Oscar. And Oscar is an English Mastiff mixed with a Bernese Mountain Dog. So he's very big. He weighs probably about 130 pounds, maybe 140. He's a big guy and beautiful. Like, he is beautiful. When I go take him on walks, everybody stops me and is like, your dog is so beautiful. And, oh, he's so friendly too. But we got him because we thought Cassie was going to die. And then she just revived. And she's been around. So now that we're in South Carolina, it rains a lot. I took him outside to go to the bathroom, and it was coming down pretty hard. We got outside, and he was like, ah. And so he just started peeing before we actually got to the grass. And I'm like trying to pull him along. And he's just peeing as he's walking with his legs spread wide. Because he was like, I don't want to be out in this. I want to pee and then get right back inside. It was so funny. I was like, what are you doing? Come on. We finally made it to the grass and he finished peeing there, but he did not want to be out in the rain. As soon as he was done, he like turned around and was like, let's get inside.
Yeah.
I was like, he's going to have to get used to this because it rains a lot here.
Yeah.
Oh
my gosh. He looks so snuggly too. Like he just looks like a giant teddy bear. You just want to give him a big bear hug.
So there you go. Now when we talk about our pets, you'll have a little bit of a reference of what we're talking about. If I tell you that Oscar knocked me over, you'll be like, oh, that's understandable. If I say how Cassie knocked me over, you're like, what were you doing?
Yeah.
So do you want to give us our movie quote, Kindy?
Sure.
Okay.
It's not because we wear skirts, it's because we wear glasses.
Ooh, an accent and everything.
Yeah, I don't know if I even said it right because I can't imagine who's saying it. So I probably botched it, but oh well, we'll go with it.
Okay. Well, now you guys get to think, and maybe you know what movie we're going to be talking about next week, but we'll let you know at the end.
Now we're going to talk about Austenland.
Oh, yes, we are.
I'm so excited. All right, and you have our summary.
Okay, I do. So we'll give you a summary. We're going to talk about what we liked about it, what we didn't like. We're going to do our top 3 favorite quotes. And Kindy and I had a hard time narrowing this down, so we might have a runner-up or 2.
Yeah, or 3 or 4 or 5 or 6.
And then we'll give our rating, what our rating would be out of 5 stars, and then we'll tell you if it's mom approved, and then at the end we've got our tally board. So a summary, here we go. Jane Hayes, who's in her mid-30s, has always loved Jane Austen, especially the 1995 version of Pride and Prejudice with Colin Firth. Never being satisfied with the men she dated, she decided to spend her life savings on a Jane Austen immersive world called Austenland. So she flies to England and gets to know several characters: Elizabeth Charming, Colonel Andrews, Henry Nobley, Martin, Amelia Hartright, and later Captain George East. Jane flips back and forth between enjoying herself and realizing she's enjoying herself and that's scaring her, so she, quote, cavorts with the servants, unquote, namely Martin. So they do fun old-timey things like hunting, riding horses, playing whist, singing, needlepoint, performing a play, and at the end of the vacation experience, they end it with a ball. So at first, her and Nobley clash, and kissing Martin is fun. But over the course of her stay, she comes to realize what an awesome guy Nobley is, and at the end of the ball, Jane sees the end coming, and instead of staying with Nobley after he confessed his love to her, I think she's scared and confused and maybe even disillusioned after seeing the other ladies getting their fantasy proclamations of love. She flees to spend time with Martin. The next day she packs up and is told by the manager, Mrs. Wattlesbrook, that Martin was her scripted match for the trip. It wasn't ever Nobley. So Jane threatens to shut down Austenland because Mr. Wattlesbrook accosted her during this stay. So Martin is sent for by Mrs. Wattlesbrook to woo her at the airport to get her to stop from pressing charges. And then Nobley shows up and Nobley and Martin fight, and Jane's just like, I've had enough of this, and she leaves, and Nobley flies to where she lives to tell her again that he's real and he does love her, and it ends happily ever after. Which is my kind of movie. So let's go through. What are some things you liked about this movie, Kindy?
Everything. I love how her and her friend are in her Austen room. She has a room that has all these Jane Austen memorabilia stuff in it, and she's like, it's a hobby. She started justify her craziness because she's obsessed with Jane Austen.
Her friend kind of at one point is trying to talk her out of going on this trip. She's like, don't spend your life savings. Don't do this. And she's like, you know what? It's good that you're going on this trip because you're going to get over there and realize it isn't all you cracked it up to be. And if it isn't, you have to come home and get rid of your crazy room.
Yeah.
It's such a good friend. She has a good friend.
Oh, she does.
She takes her with her to the travel agency where you meet Jared Hess, writer of Napoleon Dynamite. And Jerusha Hess, the producer of this movie, is his wife.
Oh, I didn't know that. That is fun. He's also the priest, if you will, on the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints version of Pride and Prejudice. He's so funny. Mom, stop. It is awesome. When I saw him, I was like, oh yeah, this is great.
Did you catch what he said when they left? I was curious if you caught it.
About not coming back and not bringing her friend?
That he said something.
Oh, no, I didn't catch it. What does he say?
He said, appreciate ya.
He did?
He did. I was like, oh, I wonder if Kindy's going to catch
that. That is awesome. No, I think I was distracted because I was trying to watch it while Emmeline was awake. So I couldn't devote my full attention to it like I normally could have. It's been a busy day. What's one of your favorite parts?
When she gets there in the airport, she lines up to go to Austenland, and she comes up behind who is introduced to us as Elizabeth Charming. And Elizabeth Charming is played by Jennifer Coolidge. And if you guys don't know who she is, look her up because she's one of my favorite actresses. She's a hoot. Anyway, she's comes so up behind Elizabeth Charming and talks to her. Is like, this where we line up for Austenland? And she turns to her and she's like, yay, an American. I can't understand what the natives say.
I was going to write that quote down too. I love the line where she says, I'm going to look great in those wench gowns.
What's your next part you want to talk about?
I love the dinner where she meets everybody else and Amelia, she is awful, but she's hilarious. There's parts that she does that crack me up. She's like, no husband, no kinder. Over exaggerates when she talks and she bounces.
Yep.
Like it's so ridiculous, but it's hilarious. Like she's hopping like a rabbit.
Yep.
People. It's hilarious. But anyway, I love how she is trying to speak like an English person, I guess, but she's just horribly off. That it's hilarious.
Do you know what the best part is? Is she's actually from Great Britain.
She is? That is awesome. Oh my gosh, I love it even more now. That is the best.
Yeah. When they arrive right before the dinner and everything, they hop out of the car. And Jennifer Coolidge, they pan the male servants and then they pan the women servants. And Lizzie Charming says, do you think those are their real faces?
Yeah.
Oh, pretty much everything out of her mouth. I just loved it all.
There's a part where she says, you'll feel different tomorrow. Think about all the people in the world that hang themselves. And then the next day they feel different, but there's nothing they can do about it.
So don't hang yourself, Jane. Oh.
And then in that same scene, she goes, and Jane, the maid told me, FYI, don't use the chamber pots.
Because they don't know what to do with it if it's just piled high.
Yeah.
We're going to quote the whole movie at you. Sorry.
Yeah, pretty much.
There's some interactions that happen at the dinner table between Jane and the other characters. And Nobley says to Jane, like, I'm sure you made conclusions about me right when you arrived. And
Oh, yeah.
she's like, hopefully they aren't correct.
Yeah, because she's referring to him and like how her assumption of him is pretty bad.
Yeah.
It's kind of nice. My other part that I loved, I don't think I noticed the first time we watched this together, was the fake chickens. Did you notice that?
There's so many
They're
fake
just-
animals. That's actually one of the tally board tallies.
Oh,
I
yeah.
counted
How
up
many
all
fake
the
animals?
times you saw fake animals.
All right, what's your next?
So she's sitting in the barn, and Elizabeth Charming rides up on a horse, and she says, we're going to go riding and release the hounds. Tally ho, hunting we will go. The British are coming. The British are coming. She kind of breaks up an awkward moment and with her humor, and then they go hunting. And Jane is a crack shot to everybody's surprise that she can just shoot down all the things. Surprised all the men. They were all like, whoa.
She was very impressive. And then the part they're leaving and her horse like doesn't move. So Martin takes the horse, is like, I'll bring one back for you. And she's like, okay. So she kind of waits there. And then she's like, nobody's coming. So she starts walking. And then it starts raining. So Mr. Nobley comes back to rescue her. Oh, I love that part. Somebody who's that good of a shot knows how to ride a horse.
That was so cute. He even says it with like a little bit of a smile, like, that was amazing. You're amazing.
Yeah.
It was unsaid, but acted
Very
out
subtle.
well. Yeah.
So I've got another quote. So they're in the room. Four of them are playing whist, and Charming goes, Colonel, you really are a sassy monkey.
While they're playing whist, Amelia turns to Lizzie Charming and says, what lovely skin you have, Elizabeth. And she's like, really? That's because late at night, when I'm all alone, I put my face in the fire. They're like, what?
Awesome.
Why would you even say that? But yeah, they do all the little old-timey things where they're playing whist, and Amelia sits at the piano at one point and performs, and she can't sing
She's
worth
awful.
anything. Yeah, it's awful.
She probably can in real life, but
Right.
in this
Oh, I'm
movie,
sure.
It's awful.
And then Colonel Andrews is like, oh, Miss Erstwhile, that's Jane, I would love to hear you play something. And she's like, oh, no, thanks. And Mrs. Wattlesbrook is like, no, you've been asked, you need to perform. So she goes and she's escorted to the piano, and she sits down and she's like, well, I only really know one song. And everybody's like, oh, well, play that then. And then she starts plunking on the piano. It's getting hot in here. If you guys don't know the song, you'll know it when you watch the show. And Mrs. Waterbrook jumps up when she realizes what it is. It's like, okay, that's enough. Stop.
Yeah.
Oh, but I thought that was such good revenge, because she's like, I don't want to do this. And then when it's forced upon her, she makes it so she doesn't have to do that ever again.
I love the part where she's walking to find Martin and Nobley surprises her. And when she gets scared, she puts her hands out and she's like, oh, sorry. Apparently when I get scared, I get turned into a ninja. My dad would be disappointed. And he goes, well, it's a very good trait to have or something. I can't remember, but I love that interaction.
I had a question to go along with that last one. Have you ever been put in a situation that you didn't want to do and you were able to come up with like a good revenge, get yourself out of it?
No, I wish I could.
I wish I was that, like, could think on the spot that
Clever.
way. I was just curious if you ever did something like that.
No.
Well, listeners, if you've ever had an experience where you've been able to think on the spot and get out of a situation that you didn't want to be in because you can think on the spot good, post it on our Facebook page, because I'd love to read it. Or email us. Maybe we'll read it for everybody, unless you don't want us to.
Yeah, you'll have to specify. So I love the part where Jane finally decides to like take control of her life because she got the lower package, and with the lower package, she doesn't get to participate in all these things. So she's like, I'm going to take control of my life. And she asks Liz Charming to help her. And she says, I've prepared my entire life for this very moment. And then the next scene, you see her coming out of this room stealing dresses.
Stealing dresses from Amelia for Jane to wear.
I love the leaves on the statues.
Oh, yeah. They're covered the private parts. So Captain George East arrives, and he was doing a soap opera, which is why he wasn't there at the start of the vacation. And he is a hoot. He's kind of full of himself and how his body looks, and in every opportunity tries to show off his torso.
Yeah.
After he arrives, they go out into the garden, and he's telling of these adventures he had as a captain. And that would be so fun to work at something like that and kind of make up a story for your character. Like, have you ever wanted to do that where you've acted in a situation or go act and create a character and become them for like a week?
No.
You've never wanted to do that? Oh, I totally have.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Does not sound fun at all.
Oh, I think it sounds so fun. Oh, but while they're at that luncheon,
oh yeah,
and he's telling this story about being a captain and stuff, Elizabeth Charming's like, did you die? Oh, I guess I shouldn't say that because that's one of my favorite ones.
And then, no, that's fine. And then the colonel was like looking at her like, what?
which is the perfect. Oh, it's so perfect.
So they do a play together, and Jane and Henry Nobley are paired together. And so after the play, Jane grabs him and runs to her room. And when they get to her room, they stop running, and they just have like this cute, intimate moment where like they're holding hands and they don't let go of their hands. And then he leaves, but she's at the door, and he hasn't left yet because
he's on the other side of the door.
Yeah, he's on the other side of the door, and he goes, Miss Erstwhile, would you honor me in saving the first 2 dances for me at the ball? And she's like, yes. And he goes, can you let me in again? And she says, yes. So she lets him in, and he grabs her hand, and he's holding it, and he looks into her eyes, and he goes, when I look at you, I feel certain of something. And then he like kisses her hand.
Yes.
And I'm like,
but
not happened in real life.
Outside of her hand.
No, it's like the inside.
He kisses.
Of it.
Yeah, her kisses her palm.
Yeah, and he's like so close to her face, and he's like kissing her palm. And I'm thinking, like, if this happened in real life, I'd probably laugh out loud. But it's so perfect in that moment.
Oh, in that moment, it is. It just melts your heart. You're just like, oh, this is so cute. I love it.
Yeah, yeah, it's great. He kisses her hand. I love that part.
Me too.
So when Jane and Nobley are entering the ballroom, and they're going to the part to start dancing, and Jane's looking at him and looking all around at everybody, and then as they're entering the room where they dance, Mr. Nobley looks at her, and he like continues to look at her like with this just cutest smile on his face. And
yes.
Yeah, so nice.
It is.
he just likes her a lot.
Yeah. The part where he pulls her aside after their dance, he's like, I need to talk to you. Because he was trying to talk to her during the dance, but then, Colonel Andrews is shouting his love essentially toward Elizabeth Charming. And she's like, oh, yes, I'll marry you.
Yeah.
And he sees that she's looking at this and being like, like, this is the fakeness that I was worried about. Because she talks with him earlier. She says, how do you know when it's real and when it's fake? Like, with everybody acting all the time, how are you supposed to know what? Because your feelings do get affected by these things. Mm-hmm. Which always confuses me. Because, like, how do actors just split that out of their minds when they act? Because,
Right?
you see these actors that have such good chemistry. How are they able to be like, this is just a paycheck and I'm just acting these feelings? Like, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Yeah, it would be hard. Although that's how some people kind of get together, is in movies they've been in together.
That's true. So anyway, he sees it all affecting her and she's getting to that point. And so he pulls her aside and pulls her out of the room. And he's like, I've come to care for you. I love you. And she's just like, I wasn't expecting to feel this way at this part. Because you can tell that she does care for him. But she's like, he's just faking it. He's an actor. And I can't handle this. So she's like, I gotta go. And she goes and hangs out with Martin for the rest of the evening. She's like, it's so nice being with you because you're real.
Yeah.
And then she comes to find out the next morning that he was not real. All his lines were given to him by Miss Waddlebrook. You got the airport fight. Did you want to talk about that at all?
I love that. That was my next one.
Oh, okay. Because my next one's at the very end, so...
Okay, so just the the fact that they're all of a sudden fighting, and they're doing such a bad job of it that at some point Jane is getting down to trying to like separate them, and she gets involved, and she's like, "No, that's my foot," and she's like, "Enough, that's it," and she's like done with Jane Austen or England or whatever. But it is hilarious where just that whole fighting scene, and then Nobley trying to reiterate to her that he has feelings for her and he wants her, and she's like, no, you're good, you are the best, but I'm out.
And she goes home and she de-Darcy's her room, calls up her friend, says she's back. And she's like, oh, just come over. And a knock comes at the door. And she's like, whoa, that was fast. Come on in. And it isn't her friend, but she doesn't know that yet because she's still getting tea ready. And she's like, do you want a cup of tea? And he's like, a cup of tea would be really nice. And she turns and she's like, what are you doing here?
Yeah.
And he's like, you left your sketchbook. And she's like, oh, well, you could have mailed it. And he's like, you're right, I could have mailed it. And so
Like,
thanks
for the punch in the face.
Yeah.
Or punch in the gut.
So then he like turns to leave and she's like, no, wait, I'm not gonna press charges. I was done and I was frustrated and like, you were this perfect guy and you're not real. And he's like, my name is Henry Nobley and I like to think of myself as real. I was just there. I'm a history professor. I was there to immerse myself in that kind of time period as an experience for myself. And she's like, that's like, you were my fantasy. And he's like, Jane, you are my fantasy. And then they kiss and it's awesome. It's so cute, guys. We love this movie. Oh,
so much.
So much. So my very favorite part is Jennifer Coolidge. She makes this movie. I love the story itself, but my favorite part is Jennifer Coolidge. Did you have a very favorite?
It was her. she was it.
Okay, so what's your not favorite? What you didn't like about the show?
I don't have anything that I didn't like about it.
See, I have one thing. I don't like that Jane, she pays for this trip and she doesn't just immerse herself in it. She tries to fight it. She fights back and forth like, I don't want to experience this. I do want to experience this. Like, if you're going to pay, go there to have the experience. And she like fights it throughout.
Well, and the other part too is that she didn't get the full package. So she was left out of a lot of activities.
Yes.
But you're right. She still didn't immerse herself because what would you do back then? You wouldn't go to somebody's little hut thing. I can't remember what it is, in a trailer or what have you, and listen to a CD player
and make out.
Whatever
like
tune.
They didn't make out in those days.
No, you'd be walking around. You'd go to the library. You'd go to your room. You'd get a book. So you're kind of right. She is kind of like, I've wanted this, but I don't want it now that I'm here, kind of thing.
And she kind of teeter-totters back and forth, and that kind of bothered me. I'm like, just do it.
Which is kind of human behavior,
It is.
Because
it is.
It's that green grass.
And it's partially because she knows that she's so in love with this time period. She knows that she could get her heart broken because she's, instead of just experience the experience for the experience...
Yeah.
She wants it, and she's scared that she's going to get burned. And so...
By Darcy.
Yes, by her quote-unquote Darcy. So, but that was hard. I'm always just like, just do it. If you're going to be there, just do it. But yeah, you're right. It is probably the way that any of us would react in that situation where we're so attached to this ideal that you're scared that you're going to taint it almost. Mm-hmm. So that makes sense. Now, just a little bit of meta for you, because this is based on a book by Shannon Hale, for those of you that want to check it out and read it. It's a fun book. The characters are just as fun as in the movie. They're written in a way that's fun to read. The Jane in the book, she's more secret about her love for Jane Austen, and her great aunt finds out about it, and when her great aunt dies, she leaves her this trip. So it wasn't Jane putting in her own money for the trip. It was her aunt had given it to her in her will. And so I kind of see how instead of it's her choice to go have this experience, it was kind of almost forced upon her. This experience was that she wouldn't necessarily have picked. So that in my mind makes it make more sense why she kind of fights it.
Yeah.
But in the movie, they don't have it that way. They have her choose to do this with her own money. And that's, I think, why I have a hard time with it in the movie. But whereas in the book, where it's like, oh, well, here's this trip. And I didn't necessarily want people to know how attached I am to this character of Darcy. And and she really is attached to it. Like, she compares all of her guys that she ever dates to Darcy. And it's just interesting. So it's great. The book's great, too. So check it out if you're interested. Okay, so what are your top 3 favorite quotes, Kindy?
Okay, one of them I accidentally mentioned. I wasn't going to, but I did. So my first 2 are Nobley. And then the third one, which is kind of surprising, but I quoted a lot of Charming, so I think I'll pick Nobley for my top 2, and then Charming is my last one. The first one is because they're walking, and she's like, we're just kind of have to put up with each other just to figure this out, or not annoy each other. And he goes, you don't annoy me, you make me nervous. And then the other one is in the room where he kisses her hand. It's before he kisses her hand. He says, when I look at you, I feel certain of something. And then my third one is where Elizabeth Charming says, I'm wearing my favorite pink pantaloons in case something happens tonight.
So right before it, you said one of your favorite lines was when she says, Colonel, you really are a saucy monkey. Elizabeth Charming says that. But right before that, it's because Colonel Andrews says this. He says, I say, who needs the outdoors when you ladies are such a breath of fresh air?
Yeah.
And then my second favorite one is Elizabeth Charming says this one after Jane performs on the piano and gets asked to stop. They're all kind of sitting there in silence, and Elizabeth Charming says, that was friggin' awesome.
Yeah.
I say that one sometimes in my life. And then this one, this is a quote that I think I'm going to paint it and put it in my craft room. Elizabeth Charming says this, I think being creative is a waste of time and money. So 0 out of 5 stars. Kindy, what would you give this movie?
5 hands down.
Yep.
Like, no thoughts about it.
Yep.
It's a definite 5.
Yep. For me too. Yeah. So you get 2 5 stars for this movie. All right. And who would we not let watch the show? Is it mom approved?
Well, there's a lot of sexual innuendos and like sexual connotations in it. So not that kids would catch on to that, but
I decided, I was like, 14 and up.
I think it also depends on how mature your child is. Emmeline has our tally board.
I do. I think I'm going to have you guess on all of these. The number of times they say the name Darcy.
21.
They only say it 4 times. It's written everywhere, but it is said 4 times. Elizabeth Charming's bad accent.
7.
17.
Oh my gosh, I am not hitting it tonight.
All right, Captain East shirtless.
3? No, 5.
5. Yep, you got it. Jane holding a teacup.
7. 7. 7. 7.
4.
Oh, okay.
Henry Nobley reading.
11.
6.
Probably less than that. Yeah.
Somebody mentioning Jane's cheap package, her cheap copper package.
3 times?
5.
Oh, okay.
And then how many fake animals did you see? And I know I counted the same ones over and over, but I just counted them when I saw them.
Yeah. 7.
There are 33 fake animals in this movie.
Oh my gosh, they're in the background, aren't they?
Yeah. There's the lamb that Miss Wattlesbrook holds.
Oh, that's
that she's petting in her little video.
Intro.
There's a peacock that appears quite frequently throughout. It's riding the carriage as they pull up to that big house for the first time. It's on top of the carriage. Then there's the chicken in the barn with her. There's 2 pheasant that they shoot.
Oh, yeah. That's right.
There's a deer. There's a buck. There's quail. There's a peacock. The peacock again. I think it's the same one. 3 more pheasants. 2 fish. A sheep. A rooster. A pug. A pelican. 2 goats. A rooster. A duck. A pelican. A rooster. A duck. A peacock. 3 parakeets. A parrot. The peacock again. And 2 sharks. I didn't know if I should count those because they were blow-up sharks and not taxidermy sharks. It was during the play.
Oh, I didn't even notice. Nice.
And they actually reference their taxidermist at the ball. I think Martin says
yeah,
something
he does. That's a
about
taxidermist.
the taxidermist being there.
Yeah.
And then, is the movie title said in the movie?
Yes.
Yes, it is. So there you go. There's our tally board. Okay, so our next episode is Hidden Figures. So if you want to watch it ahead of time, we are going to be discussing it next episode. We would love to hear from you guys. You can contact us on our website, on Facebook, or our email. They're all listed in the show notes.
Help us grow. Tell others about us. Share something you've learned. Share so that we can get out there and get more listeners to tell us what they'd like to hear. We'd like to thank Red Productions for our music, Jonica for the logo, and to our listeners, we are grateful for you. We thank you for listening to our ramblings and nonsense of things that we just talk about, but we appreciate you. Okay, so Anders said something funny this weekend. He was punching Matt's stomach and Matt was flexing, and Matt goes, "Does that feel like you're punching a rock?" And Anders goes, "Yeah, a flabby rock."
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.